Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 332. Sure, Brock just told me 332. 332 for the week of November 14th, 2017. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
And Charlie.
And I think Toby's going to join us at some point, or not. Who knows? Maybe he'll sit around for 10 minutes with his microphone off, and Bryce will sound like a crazy maniac talking. Can I just say, if you listen to our epic 3-hour podcast from last week, and you didn't listen to the after credits stuff, there's still
After 3 hours?
No, 2.5, and then another half an hour after that. So there's a whole another 30 minutes of stuff after the credits. So if you stopped early, you missed stuff. And Toby just never turned his mic on, so Bryce sounds like a crazy person. You can barely hear Toby in the background answering the questions. And at one point, I just walk up and I look over and I'm like, and I turned Toby's mic on in the middle of a conversation, and Bryce breaks down laughing, and I was crying. I was laughing so hard. So yeah, it was a really funny time. You should go listen to that episode.
Yeah, I pretty much never listen to our episodes, and then I saw that, so I'm like, what does he mean, the after credits? So I went, and I could make out everything Toby was saying, but yeah, that starting a new job and trying not to crack up too loudly at work was interesting.
Also, if you're downloaded this episode if you subscribe on iTunes or an RSS reader or something like that, you noticed 2 episodes in your feed today. The other episode being about an hour and 45 minute interview I did with Marvel Comics writer Dan Slott, writer of Amazing Spider-Man and Silver Surfer. When I recorded over the weekend, it's up on Patreon as of this recording, but in a couple hours it'll be live for everyone. So if you have not heard it yet, you should go listen to that and download it. And we kind of talk about his early days working for Marvel. He shares, according to him, a story he's never shared before about his early day of Marvel, pitching a book. It was hilarious story. We talked about Spider-Man killing Peter Parker, insane fans, big talk at Silver Surfer, I know one of Charlie's favorites. Really good time. Dan's a really funny guy, so really happy to talk to him. So yeah, I'm going to try to keep doing more of these interviews from time to time when I can make it work. So
yeah, I look forward to listening to it tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, if you kicked some buck on Patreon, Charlie, you could have listened to it yesterday.
We should have access on Patreon because we're part of the...
Take it up with Patreon.
Personally, I would just find it funny because I could kick Patreon $1 and then I'd get 20 cents of it back.
I'm joking.
It's like taxes from California.
Well, less, right? Because they got to take their share. Patreon takes their share too. So, before we go on to talk about all the horrible crap that's happened this last week in comics,
nothing horrible happened this week. What are you talking about?
Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
It is now time for our October 2017 Comic-Con sales chart guessing game, where I make you guys try to guess the top 10 books for the month based off, I guess the numbers. I read them from Comic-Con, but they're on a bunch of different sites. So,
and apparently I'm a cheater because every week I get accused of reading it, and I'm like, I don't read it.
Al, that's good. Don't cheat. So you guys cannot just say the name of a character because no. That this particular week or this particular month, it does not work. You have to be a little more specific in your answers this month for a few of them.
Okay.
Do we have to say issue numbers, or can we at least...
No,
just
title.
Just title.
Just title.
Okay.
So the top 10 comics sent to comic book stores, ordered by comic book stores in October 2017 in North America. What are your top 10?
Batman.
So Batman, the title Batman is on there, yes. Issue 32 and 33 are the 4 and 5 comic of the month at 108,000 and 97,000. I don't remember what the variant on 32 was. To look that
Wasn't
up.
that a Tony Daniel one?
I don't remember. It may have been.
Okay. My guess is also Metal is on there.
Yes, of course. Metal is on there. Metal number 3 at 158,000 is the number 1 book of the month. Oh, and 32 is the first Oliver Copiel variant. So
okay.
That's probably why I bumped up a couple of thousand copies or so.
So just Metal.
Metal is number 1.
Okay.
Yep.
Trying to think which of the minis, the one-shots came out.
Well, the one shots that came out were
Dawnbreaker,
the Drowned, Merciless, Devastator.
You got it in the first three.
Okay.
You got it in the first three. Because, was Red Death September?
Red Death was...
Yeah.
Was it
well,
before?
no, because the first one was...
Red Death
Red
was
Death,
the
yeah,
first
that
one.
Yeah, that must have been September.
Okay.
Yeah, because Drowned, Dawnbreaker, and Merciless are all in the top 10 at roughly 88,000 copies. I mean, Merciless is a little bit less. Drowned and Dawnbreaker are 89. But they're all roughly right there, just shy of 90,000. Both with the second print, Red Death, when the third print, those numbers are low. People way under-order those. Drowned is number 7, Dawnbreaker is number 8, and Merciless is number 9, all right kind of next to each other there.
So we have 1, 3,
Nope.
4.
Metal was number 1.
I know.
Yeah, you have 1,
Oh,
1,
there you go.
3, 4.
4, 5.
1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9.
Yep. So why don't you try to guess the number 10 book, because it also involves Batman.
White Knight.
White Knight. That blew me away that White Knight was the number 10, not top 10 books, 86,000 copies.
It deserves it.
Yeah.
I finally got a chance to read.
That issue 2 was awesome.
Issue 2 was awesome. Yeah. And Sean Murphy sent me a message on Twitter. I had said something. I was like, well, I don't often double my order of a comic around issue 3, but here we go. Because that Harley cover for 3 is amazing. So, yeah, White Knight is a beast. And 2's going to drop, but 3's going to shoot right back up because I know people sold out.
Like White Knight 1, I read and I went, I like this premise. I'm not sure how well it's going to work for this many issues. Read issue 2 and went, holy crap.
Yeah.
They seem to know what they're doing.
You're like, I'm sold. Done. Next issue, please.
Yeah.
So Batman, and Batman. So that's 7 of the top 10.
I feel like we're doing the spam song from...
spam, eggs and spam. So you got all the DC out of the way.
Okay. Would it be Mighty Thor 700?
Mighty Thor 700 was the number 2 comic at 115,000 copies. That is correct, yes, with more covers you can shake a stick at.
So it was beat by a book that only had three or four covers?
Metal had 4, Batman and Batman had 2, all the one-shots only had 1, and White Knight had 2. Thor had...
Like 18.
at least 12, not counting store exclusives.
So was the Legacy one-shot the only Legacy title from the month previous, or were there other ones?
Yes.
So Amazing Spider-Man?
Amazing Spider-Man 789, 110,000 copies, the number 3 book. However, if although my good friend Dan Slott is the writer of this book, and I'm not going to throw too much shade on it, I should note that issue 790, the next issue, sold 52,000 copies at the number 33 book, which is what it normally sells, right?
With lenticular and the big...
Well, and that's the thing. So the lenticulars, and if we go down the list here, they roughly... all these legacy one-shot, or all these legacy issues roughly doubled to tripled their normal sales of the title, which is great. And then in the second part, so we have 3 of them. It's Spider-Man, Deadpool, and there was a third one that double shipped in the month.
X-Men?
Well, the X-Tiles would be there.
X-Men Gold, dude.
Is it X-Men Gold?
X-Men Gold double shipped. X-Men Blue didn't because...
Yeah, because... Okay, so Gold goes from 81 to 40,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah, X-Men Blue.
Yeah,
and those are parts. Those are parts of a crossover, right? Blue goes from 71 to 37,000. 2 issues in a month. So again, there was no doubt that these first issues would sell. Deadpool is the other one. I just gave away one of the books that shipped this month. Well, that's fine. Because the number 6 book is Deadpool at 93,000. The issue number 287. That's the number 6
title. So basically,
title.
you just gave away the last one.
I did. Yeah. But Deadpool, because the next issue of Deadpool sold 33,000. So a third of that one issue. So,
you also sold out of the following issue here. So
right. Congratulations on Marvel on those sales for one issue. But it hasn't done anything.
Well, the thing
is
that's the thing is it's congratulations on those sales for that issue, but that doesn't mean sell through for stores on that issue.
True, and I know a lot of the stores that got stuck with the lenticulars, especially us, the first 3 weeks. Like we're not carrying lenticular on the shelf anymore for any of the new issues. I have just enough for subscribers and special orders, and that's it. We haven't even the December ones. I probably won't even qualify for half of them. So. I think, we saw the bump here in October. come to next month, I don't expect we'll see too many. Maybe they'll go up 50% for the one issue. Maybe double on some, but I think the stores that overshot. Again, I talk to a lot of stores regularly. They all cut way, way back.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as we talked about, the quality of the lenticular covers did not. Because, I mean, we've talked about this, especially with, like, the button and that kind of stuff. And even, like, the previous stuff with, like, Villains Month. Like, those would still constantly sell a couple copies here and there, even if we had some stock, just on the, shininess of the cover. These did not have the same appeal.
No. But, again, I have sold, a lot more than I normally do of these books, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Gwenpool here, right? The previous issue sold 14,000, so the legacy issue sold 39,000, right? And in the case of us, we went from 3 to like almost 60 copies, and then right back to 3. Yeah. So for us, I mean, that's a book where we're ordering, multitudes more than what we normally get. For a lot of stores, it's probably just a handful here, a handful there, or it's a case where 80% of the stores, 90% of the stores didn't order anything extra, and 10% like us went way high.
Yeah.
I would think that's more likely, because I know a lot of stores couldn't qualify for this. Moving into December, not only can we not qualify for most of the lenticulars, the Marvel Phoenix variant covers for that month, and I think I mentioned this last week, we basically can't qualify for any of them. So another sets we'd pre-sold online, I had to cancel them all.
What were the...
The numbers are goddamn outrageous.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why.
And there's a 1 in 2,000.
So
no. Not for that. That's not for that. I'm talking about the set of Phoenix, the monthly Phoenix variant.
That's right. The
set.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Phoenix variant cover for every for every title.
Okay.
Now the Phoenix
when you said the variants for Phoenix, I thought you meant the Phoenix book, and I'm like, why were they making you order like 4 times your legacy one shot?
They had some of that. They had some of that, right? But the main cover, the art germ cover, is open order. The lenticular cover is the main cover. Or sorry, it's not lenticular. The 3D cover is the main cover because it just moves, or it doesn't move. It's just a 3D effect.
Yeah, it's like the best part of the lenticular covers was the Alex Ross back ad.
Yeah. So I think the Phoenix book should do really good, but then they're shipping 2, 3, 4, and 5 weekly, which is like, ooh. So I'll be very curious.
We'll see.
I'm very excited for that book, and I'm hoping it's good.
Sure, yeah.
Who's writing that?
I have the name on the top of my head.
Al Ewing?
No. It's the guy that does Matthew Rosenberg.
Oh, okay.
It's the guy that does Super Empire, Super Warrior. Sorry, he's done a lot of indie stuff. So
I don't think I've read anything by him, but I feel like I've been waiting for the return of Jean Grey long enough. So
I think a lot of people have.
Well, if you're excited for the return of Jean Grey, I'm still going to go over some numbers here, but this is a good segue. We also have the launch of X-Men Red, a new title featuring...
Let me know when they do the rest of the colors.
Featuring...
In the rainbow.
Jean Grey in some shitty armor.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did not like that.
Namor, for some reason.
Nightcrawler,
he's cool. Other characters...
Yeah, I don't know why you would bring back the adult Jean Grey and not leave her in a classic outfit for at least a couple arcs. I don't...
Yeah. I think only Wolverine's in there, and then it's like, and other... I'm like, I have no... People are like, oh, it's this guy. And I'm like, I've never heard of this character before. I have no idea who those other, like, 3 characters are in the book.
So as of that, we will have gold, blue...
Red.
So now we're just waiting for...
Well, again, any expectations or hope I had for Legacies out the window, any prayer I had that Marvel could turn the ship around is gone. Any hope for Uncanny and X-Men, I just don't even care. Like, they've done such a fabulous job of... I almost believed them. I almost fucking believed them that they were going to do it this time.
I think you actually believed them for 2 weeks, and then details started coming out.
I was so hopeful.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Sorry, Marvel.
That's okay. We still like Dan Slott books.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that some of these books aren't good. Some of these books are great. But I thought this was going to be the turnaround. And so here's the thing. When they try to actually do it, no one's going to care. No one's going to buy it. No one's going to support it.
It's the cry wolf thing.
Well,
it's so bad.
It's kind of a silly situation because when they actually do it, when they manage to sort of hit the ground running, you'll probably see a crazy groundswell and a lot of attention if they do it right, just from the fact that nobody will actually be expecting it at this point.
But we're not going to have books to sell.
Yeah. You'll have plenty of second prints.
We won't have a rebirth. We won't have,
you
know.
And I mean, even
there's a lot of good runs that start small and gain.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the best runs start small.
One of the points so if people listen to that interview with Dan Slott, one of the things he was talking about was just how a lot of money was left on the table during Rebirth, and I mean I let him know that I disagree with that, and again to go on about it a little bit more, I want there to be things like returnability. I mean, some stores may not want it, but for us, it works awesome.
Well, for something like that, the weekly title that's coming out, like the Phoenix Rising, having returnability on something like that is a positive thing because that will keep stores ordering a set amount versus a drastic cut.
Well, to me, what that means is it means that they believe in the quality of the books enough that you will sell more than you think you will. The problem without returnability is it's sort of a crapshoot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your orders for number 1 are going to be X. Your orders for number 2 are going to be cut to Y. Your orders for 3, 4, 5 are probably going to be Z and...
Speaking of Dan Slott, because he's always done a very good job of promoting big events in his books without giving anything away, if they had offered returnability on some of the big stuff he's done in his titles, absolutely you would have seen a bump in orders even without knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Marvel has this line that comic store, because like 4 comic stores in the country over-ordered way over what they could possibly ever hope to sell and got stuck with stuff for Rebirth, and they had to kind of hold that bill for a month or two. Most stores ordered,
a fair amount.
Right. But any store that's like, I'm going to order 10,000 copies of Batman, well, you fucked yourself. Like, you're stupid. Like, any store that did that's insane. So, anyone that lost money on Rebirth, 1, it was temporary, and 2, I don't know what the hell you did wrong. Like, I don't know how it was possible.
Are you even talking to other stores? Because plenty of stores sold out.
Oh,
like, you could have easily boxed up tons of those comics and shipped them to other stores.
Yeah, it's super weird. But Marvel has this... that this is the line that they use about Rebirth of why Rebirth was not a success. And I'm like, you're just wrong. You're flat out wrong. Marvel is just wrong, dead stop wrong.
Yeah.
A couple of retailers may have fucked up, but the vast majority of retailers had no problem.
So what's their line?
Their line is that because of returnability, comic stores over-ordered on Rebirth and had too much money wrapped up in those returns and couldn't spend money on other titles.
My instant response to that is too many stores went too heavy on legacy. They're now stuck with the titles and never get that money back.
Got it in one. It's bullshit. It's pure bullshit. But this Marvel's been pimping this line for a year now, and it's 100% wrong. 98% wrong because yes, I'm sure there were a couple of retailers that just don't know how to order correctly in any fashion. When I get returnability, I'm like, I'm not going to order 5,000 copies because that's so outside
not to mention, if they did overorder on certain titles, most of those would have gone up in value at this point.
Yeah.
Well, people would happily buy them on eBay or other avenues.
Well, I was pulling a book off the wall for us to set for tomorrow. And I was like, why do you have all of these copies of this book? And you're like, oh, it's returnability. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But it was like, it's 5 copies of an indie title that you would probably have ordered 2.
Yeah. And I sold a couple extra copies, but I didn't sell a ton. So you're talking about the, what's it called? The Black Mirror?
Kid Lobotomy.
What's it called? Yeah, but it's that line.
Black something.
I'm blanking on the name of the line now. So that's the case where, it's all the IDW books do this where they offer some sort of returnability. I'm not going to order 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50 if I'm only selling 2. I ordered a bunch of number 1s, a bunch of number 2s, and now 3 and on, I'm ordering what I think I can sell.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but it gave me an issue or two, because what if it blew up, and what if I sold 10 or 20 copies of number 1 instead of like 3 or 4? But, I didn't. But I'm willing to give that a shot because of the returnability. I mean, you look at my shelf this week for Marvel, last week and this week, I was like,
it's like tumbleweeds over
there's
there.
not. And I'm like, we're going, because this is what I sold. I only ordered a couple extra copies, and it's light. And I did sell out of a few things. I reordered a few things. I bumped my numbers a copy or two, but we're talking a copy or two. We're not talking, I have a stack of 25 copies of 30 copies of every Marvel book on the shelf. We're talking like 3 to 5 copies of most Marvel books on the shelf. That's awful.
What kind of kills me about the market that we live in today is it wasn't that long ago that if you had a copy or 2 left on the shelf, that wouldn't be enough, because you'd know over the next month or 2 you'd sell through those regularly. You need to restock a few more copies. Nowadays, Wednesday seems to matter a little too much on a lot of these titles.
There's a lot of books where I sell 90 to 100% of my titles on Wednesday. Not the first week. Wednesday. Yeah. I'll leave 2 copies on the shelf when I leave Wednesday, and then I'm off Friday, and I come back Saturday, and those 2 copies are still on the shelf. Like, that is just, Wednesday is just such, again, here, and I've heard from other stores as well, but Wednesday is a predominant day for shelf sales. Hell, this stuff, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I've sold my last copy that I'm ever going to sell.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's like last week, Port of Earth came out, and I think you ordered 5 copies of number 1. I think there was a variant, so you ordered like...
I got like 10 or 15 of those.
You ordered 10 or 15?
For the images number 1s, I'll usually go 5 to 15, depending on the variants and everything like that.
I think I put about 5 or 6 back on the on the shelf.
Sold about half.
I read it. I enjoyed it, but it's like, Wednesday sales of that, hopefully they come back for number 2.
Yeah,
but
with the indie stuff, there's usually a little give on that because people will wander in randomly and grab stuff. Yeah. But a lot of the indie stuff, the amount of books where I sold out of 1 and sold like 1 copy at 2, happens.
Yeah.
So often. So I've just started preemptively, and I hate to do it, but I've just started preemptively cutting most ordered. Basically, if people aren't signing up for the book, if I'm not getting like sales Saturday, Monday, Tuesday of the next week, I cut the number 2, and if we sell out, cool. Because the trades are the main factor for indie titles.
It's a weird state though that just the shelf life of comics has gone way down.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the sales here, because we have a comparison to last month and top 300 graphic novels sold and all that stuff. I talked with the guy here at Comic-Con a little bit over Twitter, John Jackson Miller, just briefly, kind of asking like, hey, is there a way to pull out things like Loot Crate and because of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 1, the reason it was so high is that was in a Marvel box a couple months ago, which I didn't realize. You have things like the Walking Dead 25-cent cover, which doesn't count for dollar, but I guess it counts for unit.
It doesn't
sales.
count for dollar, but it counts for unit.
But it shouldn't. That's the thing, because so there's all sorts of weird things. We're basically looking here compared to October of last year, which was down 21%, which was still well into Rebirth launches, so huge number, but also Marvel overshipping, also other promotional items. So these months, you could say, oh my God, look, the comic industry's fallen 20% since last year, but it's not very accurate because you have so many weird other things that are causing those numbers to be inflated. I kind of think the best numbers to look at are the year-end numbers, because I like to look at it month to month, but the more this goes on, the more I realize all these games the companies play, and it's not just Marvel, it's every company. These numbers are real hard to narrow down how much. I think he said, you take off the Loot Crate stuff, that drops like 0.5% off. I know one of the big things is, while the top is down, the bottom of the pack and the lowest ends of the packs are actually rising pretty pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So lots of comics are being sold. It's just the big guys at the top are dropping, but all the little guys are maintaining or actually gaining sales, which, again, we've seen this where the top 300 comic used to be like maybe even 3 digits, 1,000 copies, 1,200 copies. Now the top 300 comic is in like the 5,000s. Let me look here.
It's Walking Dead #1 numbers.
Yeah, the 300th comic is 4,185, which is the Doctor Who Lost Dimension special for this month, and that would have been like a 220 book. So that middle is doing okay. For the and again, we also have this Marvel in the top 300. DC had 81 titles. Marvel had 79 titles. Marvel has gone from 104, 105 to they took a huge cut coming into Legacy, which again we're seeing what the actual kind of this non-inflated market is here. Overall dollar, Marvel with 36%, DC with 30.58%. Image at 11.46%. Image had a big month with that Here's Negan hardcover. That added a lot to their overall sale. Overall units, Marvel at 38.6%, DC at 35.48%. So, just a 3% difference between those three companies. But the overall units, that includes graphic novels, that includes comics.
Yeah.
So month 2 and 3 of Legacy, we could see DC beating them on the on the unit share. It's unlikely they'll ever beat them on the dollar share.
Well, I mean, you have to look at it this way. I mean, the top book in September was Legacy. Right? Okay, boom, you have this, and it skyrocketed. It was almost 300,000.
Yeah.
You go into the first month of Legacy, the thing that's supposed to be like,
but these books are not going to sell that.
But that's what they wanted.
No. I mean, there's no hope on earth those books are going to sell those numbers. I mean, maybe sure they want them.
Yeah,
but there's no way in hell they're going to.
But that's the thing is Marvel with Legacy only ekes out 3 titles in the top 10.
Yeah.
When before, they
but
pretty much had 3 titles in the top 10. Anyway.
And I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say I'm happy with Legacy, but that being said, Metal is a beast.
Yeah.
And Batman is a beast.
Well, let me actually go down this list here because I'll tell you the next handful of titles, right? Because if you go to 11 through 20, it's X-Men Gold, Venom, Spider-Gwen, Cable, X-Men Blue, Avengers, Invincible Iron Man, Flash 33, which that's the crossover, I believe, right?
Yes.
And then Incredible Hulk 709 and Star Wars 37. So Star Wars is like a regular seller. That's your first regular comic here at 65,000 copies. So while they didn't get the top 10, they got 11 through 20 minus the Flash comic. But again, Venom is going to drop down to 15,000 copies. Spider-Gwen's going to go down to 12,000 copies. Cable's going to drop down to 20,000. Blue's going to drop down to 30,000. Right? So all these books, I'm sure they would have loved to have dominated the top 25, kind of like Rebirth did, where they had just huge
Rebirth
numbers at the top.
What was Rebirth's numbers? Can you look that up real quick?
Rebirth number 1?
Yeah, well, like Rebirth number 1 was how many copies, and then what was the first month?
I can. Yeah, give me a second. But yeah, so again, these are good numbers for the 1 month. Between Marvel and DC, while that's pulling up, they had 80% of the market in the top 300. So 80% of the comics in the top 300 were Marvel or DC books.
And DC had more books than Marvel.
DC had 2 more books than Marvel. Yeah. Marvel had a little bit more of the unit share. Again, they got a lot of their books into the top 20.
Well,
top 30.
All their titles are $3.99. So of course the dollar share is going to
dollar share is higher. Share is higher. The estimated sales for Rebirth first print only was 235,000 copies. I know they added, I believe the estimate is something close to 100,000 copies between the other printings. So they did 5 printings and the 2 trade paperbacks.
Yeah.
So you're looking at, you're approaching probably 350,000, somewhere in that range.
But the thing is was there a Marvel Legacy reprint?
No.
So that's the thing is if you look at, if you're looking at like Rebirth, that DC Universe Rebirth issue, it sold out so much and so continuously that they had to go to 5 printings?
Yeah.
So
for Rebirth, remember we had Civil War 2 number 1 was the same month.
Yeah.
Han Solo was on there. Civil War 2, number 2. Star Wars, number 20, which is still selling 30,000 copies more. But the remainder of the top 20 is all DC. Batman Rebirth, Master Race, Last Crusade, Superman Rebirth, Wonder Woman, Superman Flash. Yeah, so which are all in the 80 to 90,000 copies.
Yeah.
So, again, will we be down? Will 20... My hope was Legacy and Dark...
Metal
and
Doomsday Clock
would be able to offset some of that 2017 or 2016 difference there. It'll be down probably single digit. If it's down 8 or 9% or something like that. I was hoping it'd be closer, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be. That said, again, I don't think these are bad numbers. This will be our first down year since 2011 in the comic industry, or 2010, I guess. Anyone screaming this is the end of comics, like I don't know how many times people have said the same thing and it's never happened. So I think we'll be fine. Let's move on to some not fine stuff.
We're talking more Marvel news?
Hey, unfortunately, this is all DC.
That was for you, Bryce.
This is all DC. If you are a fan of entertainment, I'm sure you've heard all about the various sexual harassment charges and allegations against all sorts of people across.
Yeah, pretty much everybody. I mean,
lots of different.
If you have a verified Twitter account in Hollywood, you pretty much got to,
The liberal left has decided to clean up Hollywood, as it has started to get rid of a lot of serial sexual harassers and people with very long HR folders, rap sheets, yeah, that HR companies have decided to do nothing against. And as is the way, outing people tends to be the way to get people to make companies actually do shit.
Yeah.
So this has now hit comics. We had a fast and wild weekend with Eddie Berganza, which, again, anyone listening to this podcast probably heard us talk about this years ago. It was from 2006 to 2012, but 2012 is when it kind of broke. He is up until the other day, and one of the group editors for DC. He is editor on Metal and did a lot of editing Superman books. He had been he had a couple sexual harassment charges brought up against him through HR at Warner Brothers back again through the end of the aughts in the early 20-teens, and Warner Brothers had kept him. Now,
basically, it was like slap on the wrist and.
No, here's the question, right? I mean, I think some of these are. Should he have been fired at the time? Absolutely. He didn't. He wasn't. They made him go through whatever HR deemed he needed to go through. To the best of my knowledge, has not reoffended since. Again, he probably didn't have to go through much. And all the women that he harassed are no longer with DC or the company. And one of the reasons maybe he hasn't had the ability to do anything is that DC and Warner Brothers had done a good job of not hiring women to work with him or near him. So that means less women had opportunities at DC and around his department. So that sucks.
Yeah.
HR did not handle this the way they probably should have. He should have been let go at the time. He wasn't. Well, that was now corrected. He was suspended on Saturday and let go on Monday. So for a few days there, it was BuzzFeed had a big series of articles and all sorts of guys that still have jobs within these companies, and he was one of them, and that was a huge. They talked to a lot of his victims and other people, and so that some people said that they were going to boycott DC and all this stuff. It's like, well, okay, understandable. If they kept him around still, yeah, I'd understand that. But he's gone. Should have been gone before. He wasn't. Any sort of boycott of DC, that hurts the creators. It hurts the comic stores. It doesn't hurt DC. Like, don't do that. Again, if you have to, sure, fine, I get it. But you're not hurting DC. You're not hurting Eddie Berganza. He's gone. So... I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there.
Bleeding Cool had their article today, I saw it today on my Twitter feed about Amy Chu and having to work with him on her, because she wrote the Poison Ivy Cycle of Life and Death.
Yeah.
And then she snuck in the scenes that are based on his behaviors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, no, totally can see it now.
Yeah, I you never want to see these things. You never want to hear about them. You hope the companies take care of their employees the way they
That's
should.
why you only hire guys, right?
They haven't. Well, mostly because Leanne will kill me if I hire a girl. That's what she says.
See, this is the thing. Is your wife would kill you for hiring? It's not like that's the hilarious part.
Other companies have had obviously a bunch of different problems. IGN had a bunch of their employees kind of walk out the other day. But this is not the only one from DC. Also, at the same time, and this is something that no one knew about. Yeah. Again, the Eddie Berganza stuff people knew about. Andrew Kreisberg, who is the showrunner and executive producer on Supergirl, Arrow, Flash, Legends Tomorrow, he had 19 different sexual harassment. What's the word I'm looking for? Cases.
HR had been notified 19 times with complaints from both men and women.
Yeah, 15 women, 4 men, all sorts of various levels of sexual harassment. And, especially shows like Legends and Supergirl, which have extremely, very pro-feminine, pro-women just topics and characters. The fact that this is still going on behind this, you don't know how much the actors knew. I'm sure the women actors all knew. I'm sure the men actors are probably totally oblivious to it for the most part.
Most of this sounded like it was happening in like the writer's room and away from the sort of normal production.
Yeah.
So
the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. I don't know how much the people in front of the cameras
ever saw it.
Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah. Again, it's possible they didn't. So he is suspended as of this recording. I don't believe they terminated him. I don't.
No, they have not announced any kind of termination so far. But
I don't see how they.
19 complaints.
I don't see how they keep them.
Yeah.
Isn't like 2 complaints one too many?
Well, I mean, that's the crazy thing about most of this stuff for me is like most of the stuff that's coming out is it's not one complaint and HR handled it. It's like been going on a while and HR hasn't I've had bosses where I'm like, they weren't anything like this, but I've watched them do things where I'm like, how on earth are they not more paranoid that they're going to get in trouble with some sort of HR? And that's just like, I've had bosses that kind of treated certain employees like they were a father figure and constantly asking like, are they dating somebody yet? And I'm always kind of like,
well, talking with a few people about this, people that have more corporate jobs than I do and actually have to deal with this. A lot of HR people are they're there to protect the company. They're not there to actually protect the employees.
But that's what I don't get.
Right. Like, it shouldn't be that way.
We are in a age where HR's primary job to protect the company would be to get this stuff handled and ended as quickly as possible. Because if it continues to this extent, that makes the company that much more liable. Like, what kind of case could have gotten brought against Warner Brothers because of how long this went on, because HR wasn't doing like that is just in this kind of culture that has time and time again, like it is pretty much a prepared statement that WB has released a number of times in this past few days about wanting to create a safe environment for everybody. Like that is a prepared statement that I guarantee you they have had on record forever. And yet they don't have their HR making sure that. Well,
the one at IGN, again, it's not comic related specifically. They cover comic stuff, but the one at IGN was interesting. That the guy was sexually harassing one of the women that worked there, and the HR according to her, the HR basically said, "Well, you dressed like you were asking for it. You were guilty as well. You need to sign this paper saying that you were culpable, or you're fired."
Yeah,
and you could never talk about this again. And then the guy just stayed there. It's like, what? Like that is insanity. That is absolute insanity. Again, like I don't have to deal with this shit. I have no idea how they deal with this. And that to me, this is like, I'm like, what is wrong with HR that someone at a human resources that this is how they're supposed to handle it. That makes no sense to me.
The thing that particularly drives me crazy, especially with something like 19 complaints, is, as far as I'm concerned, his career is over at this point.
Yeah.
If HR had stepped in on the first complaint and made a big enough deal out of it, hopefully environment would have changed. Hopefully he would have changed. Hopefully people wouldn't have been working for him for 5 years now.
Yeah.
Something like that in a environment they weren't comfortable. Like, it kind of seems to me like it would have just been better for everybody to get it taken care of behind closed doors. Get him to go through all the
guys like him,
apologize.
Guys like him and Eddie Berganza too. I mean, they're some of the top guys at their own companies. So, and Bleeding Cool published some total bullshit article today that was like, "Oh, there's a sense of dread and doom now that Berganza's gone because he was keeping the trains running on time." And
were you reading one of what's his face's article?
And now no one knows what's going to happen. It's like, come on, you're going to put all this on the one guy? Like, no.
No, I mean, I read the same thing and it was bullshit. All it was basically saying is expect that there could be some delays as they move stuff around because of this. Which,
now I don't want to quote something that as like a definitive response, but I did inquire with the DC on Saturday when he was officially suspended. I did ask a representative, and this is not like a definitive quote forever, but I said, "Do we have any reason to believe there could be delays on metal?" And they said no. Now, again, do not take this as 100% gospel truth.
They've already put in a couple delays.
Well, there
on
was a co-editor on Metal,
right? Who's taking over? Right, she's taking over. A woman.
Yeah,
from what I don't have her name in front of me here. Sorry.
It was more of a question on the Superman books, especially marching to the 1000.
Yeah. They will have people that can handle it.
Oh, I'm sure they will, and I'm sure if there is a delay, it will be a very minor delay.
Right.
I don't think anybody's.
Eddie was the one at the Comic-Con years ago, right?
What's that?
Was he one of the ones involved in that Comic-Con stuff years ago?
I think it was WonderCon.
Was it WonderCon a few years ago?
I don't know. But yes.
Yes. If you're asking about like at the, like, what was it, like the Hilton Hotel afterwards or something? Yeah, that was him. Yeah. So
don't be a douche.
Yeah, please. Don't be a douche. I don't know. We could talk about this forever. This will not be the last you hear about this, I'm sure. We'll hear more.
No, we'll be hearing about this for a while, especially with it burning in Hollywood and going over to politics. And...
Well, there were a few people in comics. Brian Wood's another one that had a lot of women that he had some issues with. Again, all public stuff. We've heard about all this before. Sure, we're going to hear about at least one or two more people in the comic industry that we had no idea. I'm sure we're going to hear about it. So, don't be a dick. Let's get to some questions. Stephen Chandler says, "What character do you love in theory, but just don't care to read?"
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
So there's a variety of characters, and I think I said this last week, but it's more one of those things of like, I like Black Panther, but I've never been able to long-term read any of his single titles. I like him when he's part of the Illuminati and part of the various team books and that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's plenty of characters like that where
Inhumans right now.
Yeah, that's another good example. When the Inhumans were part of the Space Saga stuff, when they've been part of Fantastic Four, I've always liked them. But there's a lot of characters like that where I like the character, but I like the character primarily when they're attached to something else.
Yeah.
For me, it's Nightwing. I can't get into the...
It's so weird.
I just can't. I mean, cool character, great concept, I have never been able to get into the books. And I've tried. I've tried reading the New 52 relaunch, and then I tried again with Rebirth. It just doesn't... but Scott Snyder in Black Mirror was his... it was amazing. But again, I think that's because that wasn't his book. He was taking over for a little while.
Hulk is one of those characters where I like the
Hold on. Which one?
I like the Hulk stuff, right? Like
Which one?
But it doesn't matter. But the Hulk solo books I've never cared for. Even like the long Peter David run, I read big chunks of it, but it just doesn't do anything for me. Charlie's looking like he wants to pick another book.
America is not a good concept and should never be written.
No, my biggest problem right now is I want to pick something other than like Miss Marvel. And
Well, why don't you think about it while I ask another question here?
While
I ask another question here. This is from Matt.
Matt.
He says, is there anything you wish was an ongoing comic? I've always wished that it was Kim Possible and Danny Phantom. Okay, I know what Kim Possible is. I've no idea. Charlie, you have kids. What's a Danny Phantom? Is that a kid thing? It sounds like a kid thing.
Yeah, it was I'm trying to remember if it was Disney or Nickelodeon, but it was one of those. I can picture the character in my head.
Are we talking like cartoons to comics, or are we talking just anything?
Anything. Because my answer for this has been my answer forever. Twin Peaks comic. There needs to be a fucking Twin Peaks comic. Like, so much would be explained in a Twin Peaks comic. I've wanted it for 25 years. I want it now even more. Twin Peaks comic.
I still wish they did the Pushing Daisies comic.
Were they supposed to?
Yeah, they were.
Like a season 4 or whatever it was?
They were supposed to do a comic through Wildstorm, and then Wildstorm went away.
When they sold, right?
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when that was supposed to happen. I was excited for that. I still, to this day, am annoyed that we don't have a Gargoyles comic again. I loved the Gargoyles comic, and especially because they had Greg Weisman writing it. It was perfect.
Someone could pick it up.
Fantastic Four.
Well, I'm pretty sure Greg Weisman would come back to write more.
Yeah.
I just don't know what happened with those rights because of
Batman
slave labor, but if they can do the Haunted Mansion comic, in theory, they could do Gargoyles again.
Yeah. It's from Ulysses. Okay, now there's a couple of these in here, but I'll take Ulysses and I'll talk about other people if they have something similar to ask for it. You might notice that we have not talked about Justice League. The premiere happened. People saw it yesterday. The reviews drop tonight, like at midnight, basically.
So you're off the internet was
tomorrow
as of uploading?
Well, tonight at like midnight, our time. 12:30 or something. The reviews are tonight.
The Rotten Tomatoes score.
The tomato score is not till Thursday because they're using it as part of some TV show. So this is another thing. A bunch of people in the forum are posting about this. I don't think Warner Brothers is using their partial ownership of Rotten Tomatoes to not publish a Rotten Tomatoes score for Justice League. They're using the hype of the movie to push this Rotten Tomatoes TV show where they
Facebook show.
Yeah, Facebook show. Where they will reveal the score on Thursday. That said, let me read Ulysses. Let me tell you what a few other people have said, and then
shut the fuck up.
And then I'll pray. Ulysses says, I watched the early screening of Justice League. Well, he says, and it's fucking.
And it's fucking? What is it fucking?
I'm assuming he meant it's fucking great. Because he says, this movie is my favorite of 2017 by far. Stay for the post-credit scene. I give it an A. And are you guys hyped to see it this weekend? No, I'm not hyped to see it this weekend. I'm hyped to see it Thursday. Because we're seeing it Thursday. Ulysses is not the first person I've heard from. A couple of people reached out to me and said it was great. The various these are including including more than one person who did not care for Batman v Superman that said Justice League was really good.
Okay, that gives me hope.
So I am the Twitter reviews were dumb but fun. You know, light on plot, great on action and character, which is like, sure, fine. Sign me up, right? Of course, I would love another Dark Knight or Winter Soldier, but I'm happy for a fun Justice League movie, too. I don't need to be the greatest movie of all time. Just, again, as much as I like BVS,
I just don't want to...
I don't want the world to hate this movie. I want everyone to like the Justice League movie. So, fingers crossed. Next episode, all Justice League talk.
Here's my general prediction, because some of the trailers have wowed me, but a lot of the ads I kind of feel like lean a little too heavy on the action.
Yeah.
So I'm really expecting to walk out of there going like, that was so much better than I thought it would be based on some of those ads. But I don't know how they could have advertised it better without.
Yeah.
Well, they've kept like any sort of plot or
I
like.
know.
So that my fear is, again, we may have had a 3-hour movie with a lot more plot and dialogue and
We might have had a Zack
Story.
Snyder long.
and they're just
you
like,
know.
just trim to the action and funny parts and let's just leave the rest on the floor. But who knows, right?
But I think if that's what they did, the reviews would be coming out more negative. So I think I honestly don't know what to expect from the movie.
Yeah,
that's
Well, it is.
was
It,
more
it does
terrifying
look
before the
to be
reviews
like a
started
bit
coming out.
brighter, like color wise.
Yeah, they went
Because
through and like
the comparison to like the early trailer footage to the newer trailer footage, you're like, oh yeah, look, there's actual red in there and blue and
yeah.
well, any event.
Ulysses.
I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah.
Green Arrow's in it, right?
Hopefully. That'd be cool. I doubt it, but all right. Ulysses also says, who would win in a fight, Daredevil or Batman? Batman. That's not even a question.
Charlie,
X or
you
Batman?
have to say it.
We already know Batman.
You have to say it.
I don't even
Why are
know
you scared
why
to
you
say
would
it?
want to.
X
pair them
or
in the first
Batman?
place.
The answer is usually Batman.
Yeah.
No matter no,
I feel like
and
you have
that
to say usually,
and that
though,
applies
because-
even when somebody else is writing him.
Yes. Pensive Bird. His bird is very pensive on Twitter. They say after playing some Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, it was Ryan.
Can you spit tonight?
Woof. Let's try that again. After playing some Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, I was reminded how much I like the Ultron design versus the movie design. Don't care much for the villain beyond the looks. I was wondering, do you guys have a character you like only for the design?
In the cinematic universe or just in general?
No, just in general. Again, to kind of like that character that you like in theory, but we don't actually like anything.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Is there a character that looks awesome that you're just like? I mean, again, Deadpool's an awesome looking character that I
Yeah, just
flying toss about. Yeah,
but villain wise,
it doesn't matter anything wise. That's a tough one because I feel like there's if you're a shitty character, you probably look shitty too. Like I just don't.
I kind of feel like a lot of characters evolve when they get the look right. Like they'll I kind of sit here and go like Punisher was never intended to be what Punisher became until they went, wow, we got this.
well, black
character.
jeans and a t-shirt with a skull on it works a lot better than like
Totally say Spider-Gwen. I like Spider-Gwen's costume a whole lot. Care less about the character. She's a cool looking character though.
what
I like her
about
look.
Gwenpool?
No, Gwenpool looks like a fucking train wreck.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot
who's
of the eyeball
characters-
guy in The Watcher?
The Orb?
The Orb guy?
Orb's cool.
Like Orb looks cool, but no, I don't get it.
He's been in like 4 comics before
Original Sin.
yeah, before that. He was in this, I think it was an issue of Sleepwalker.
That's a character.
Or was that the guy with the 8-ball for a head?
Who's the idiot guy with the pot on his head
Pot on his head?
that did the dab in the ad? It's like FP or something.
Forbush Man.
Who?
Yeah, Forbush Man.
What the fuck?
It's an old Marvel comedy thing. Yeah.
Forbush?
Yeah.
Like what type of bush?
Not that type of bush. Forbush Man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the good answer for this one. Well,
Just so you know,
I got one. I got
he's
Spider-Gwen.
not
That's
one
good
to
enough.
hold, he is not one that's going to carry the shield.
no. Julian Titus asks, Metal has shown that Batman is one more tragedy away from going psycho. I mean, he's always one more tragedy away from going
Wait,
psycho.
you think he's going psycho?
Do you think
Batman
there will be,
is nuts.
Do you think there will be lasting animosity towards him afterwards, like booting him from the Justice League? No. I mean...
If they boot him from the Justice League, I better get a Batman and the Outsiders fucking comic with an homage cover.
I think they just do what
They'll
they
just do-
normally...
they'll do.
Yeah, it's just... They'd be like, oh, Batman... And then it's just more Justice League stories.
This week is the ex-girlfriend or the ex-girlfriend current love interest fighting it out in a Batman. So
Yeah. Cisco asks...
he just goes through it all.
Cisco asks, will Bryce see Justice League with the group, even though the Rotten Tomato score plans are to withhold their scores until right before the first official showing?
Well, we're watching it at 9, so he'll have seen it by then.
He's coming with us. Whether he wants to or not, he's coming with us.
Do you have a sign ready to like rub in his face if it's a high score?
No. he'll see it either way. But I want him to be happy seeing it. But no, we'll see it. He also wants us to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes, the holding score for the web show, which we already talked about. So, what's this? Let's see. Indigator. I don't understand your question, Indigator. It says, can each of you say what would happen in Justice League? What would happen in Justice League that you would give it 2 thumbs up or certified fresh, or I'll be in my bunk? I don't know what he's trying to ask. Like, what? I
think it's you'll be crying.
I just want a great Justice League movie. I mean, I'm gonna like it either way. Get that out of the way, of course, because I like Justice League. I like these movies. I like Zack Snyder. It's hard for me not to like it.
We get it, DC apologist. We get it.
I know. I just like it, so I'm not an apologist for it. As
long as it isn't Man of Steel-ish or BVS, I'll be fine. Or cut together like the trailer of a Suicide Squad movie.
The Squad trailer was awesome.
I know, but they had the same people do the movie, recut, and it didn't work out as well the next time.
For me, as long as there's enough positive that I can stay positive about it, I'll be fine.
Yep.
Like that for me is the thing that I always find funny when we talk about BVS and that kind of stuff is people all tend to hate the same things and all tend to love the same things. Just some people go, the stuff I love brought me enough enjoyment that I'm not going to...
Your scales were tilted towards that side.
Yeah.
Well, look at the Marvel stuff, A dumb fun movie with lots of character is at 92% of Rotten Tomatoes for a Marvel movie, and those reviews coming out for Justice League, I'm totally expecting it to get lowballed. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, it's like I think the general consensus that I've heard from people, especially on Thor, is that shake weight joke was bad.
That was a joke that killed it,
right? Like that, everyone agrees that was a bad joke.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, the thing I'm most curious about Justice League, just because I keep seeing conflicting reports, is you keep hearing like Flash is going to be the runaway character in Justice League. Cyborg is going to be everybody seems to be
running.
Well, more along the
lines. If Iris West is in this and she says "Run, Barry, run,"
I mean everybody kind of sits there and goes, Wonder Woman was a character that stole BVS.
Yes,
oh
no, the movie was second she popped on screen and that music came on, that movie was fantastic.
Or a lot of people would talk about how they're like Ben Affleck as Batman, and there's always that who is the character that is going to be the
anchor.
Yeah, the one that everybody's talking about after the movie, and I keep seeing conflicting reports on.
All right, okay, so going off of that,
people who saw the movies always focusing on different characters.
Who do you guys think is going to be the best character for you that we haven't seen? So is it going to be Aquaman for you? Is it going to be Flash, or is it going to be Cyborg?
Of the new guys?
Of the new guys. Well, for you.
Again, what Charlie was talking about, I mean, they all seem to play well. I haven't seen anyone say yet, oh, this person sucked. I mean, I'm super excited for Aquaman. He looks awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Who are you super excited for? We know Toby's is Aquaman.
I mean, I'm worried Flash is going to be a little too ADD, a little too jokey, but it's fine. We'll see.
So from the trailer specifically, I would have said Aquaman, but I think I'm going to change it when I see it. That's just the impression I got. I think I was betting so much on Aquaman doing it that I'm going to be pleasantly surprised by somebody else.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. There was this feeling for Aquaman that was there, but as I've seen trailers, I'm like, it's probably going to, for me, end up being Flash. But who knows?
Yeah,
they have not shown very much Cyborg, so I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah,
it could be Cyborg.
But again, this is part of the reason why I'm excited for the movie. I don't know.
Yeah. Continuing a similar topic, Alex McHale asks, did you guys ever talk about Zachary Levi as Shazam? Such a great unexpected casting choice. I think we mentioned it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we talked about it.
No, you talked about it on Twitter. Who the fuck is Zach Levi?
He's a human with skin. He'll do a great job. That's all that matters. I have no idea who this person is.
I loved him in Chuck. I mean, obviously, they just finished killing him in Thor Ragnarok.
Who was he in Thor?
He's one of the Warriors 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those.
I don't like that part.
Yeah.
I think he would. I think for me, he'd have to bulk up just a little.
Well, I mean,
bit.
that's the thing. We live in an age where certain actors just bulk up and go down like it's nothing, assuming he can do that because I've never seen him do that.
Well,
I'm
he's never played a character that desperately needed that kind of change.
But I mean, assuming he's got the personal trainer and he bulks up, and
well, I mean, Christian Bale had that extreme.
He's got that kind of good personality down from what I've seen him in other things. So.
Well, because
not to mention he runs the my brain is based on
outside Comic-Con.
the Nerd HQ stuff at Comic-Con.
No, it's like the Christian Bale's transformation from the Machinist to Batman Begins. That was
assuming he can do it.
Drastic.
It's all good. I've never seen him do it. So.
Yeah.
Justin
this is
Grosjean
just in.
asked if Ben Affleck is looking for a graceful segue out of the cowl, is Flashpoint their best bet? I don't see that truly as an option, considering Flash returns to the same Batman as before. It's Flashpoint. I mean, if that's the case, and if Ben Affleck is done after Flashpoint, if he does Justice League and then Flashpoint, or Justice League Batman Flashpoint, and he's done, then, that's a good enough option because they can change whatever they want to change within the context of the universe. But I think doing something like a Flashpoint movie, I hear that and I'm like, I don't know what it could, like Age of Ultron or Civil War, it could be the name and have like nothing to do with it. It could just be called Flashpoint, but not have anything to do with the story Flashpoint.
Well, I mean, they used Flashpoint in Flash.
Right. They called it
they just call it Flashpoint.
He was in that universe for 2 episodes.
Yeah, for 6 months.
And nothing happened, yeah. There's a bunch
See,
of...
my hope is this, because I kind of feel like Affleck has just gotten beaten down since he was announced as Batman, and then Batman v Superman came out, and people are always talking about how much they hate Batman v Superman. I'm hoping that once he gets Justice League under his belt, it will kind of reinvigorate him for wanting to do more. Because given how much shit he's gotten for every and the funny part is, everybody seems to agree he makes a good Batman. Yet,
it's those Marvel fans, man. I'm telling you, man, they ruined the internet. Such assholes. They're just terrible. They're just so angry about Batman v Superman. They harass these creators online. It's terrible. Lester says, I asked a while about Doomsday Clock #1 and whether it would sell over 500,000 copies. You said no. With the hype train gaining momentum, variant covers, you and other retailers increasing orders, has your answer changed? No. There's no chance in hell any comic sells 500,000 copies these days. 200? Yes.
It might.
It can hit 200.
It can hit 200. 300?
#1 can hit 200.
Yeah.
300? Probably not. Maybe.
Maybe if DC puts it in as a variant cover in their Loot Crate.
Well,
250 is kind of I think 250 is our bar.
I think, honestly, it's going to hit 300, but not in like first printing. I think
they do a reprint or something.
A couple of reprints, couple months, because I mean, it's going to be going on for a long time.
Yep, 1 year.
Meaning,
I ordered for a year. Basically, I ordered it.
Basically, if you're looking at this thing, especially because they're not doing any kind of collections until it's done.
Yep.
That's a year worth of sales every time something big happens and gets people like, oh crap, I need I think when you count in however many printings are going to go through, it's going to hit at least 3.
With the amount that you ordered, is it 5% is your pre-sold for just #1 sets of the variants?
What's that?
Is it 5% of the pre-sold variant or pre-sold sets you have for #1? What
is 5%?
Because how many did you order of #1 total?
Oh, how much of what we ordered is already sold?
Yeah.
Carry the one.
Do some math.
200. Try that again.
You do realize you could just add it all to the total and then take the...
Like 30% have already sold.
Oh, 30%? Nice.
Yeah.
That's not even... And that's... With it not even out yet, you've sold 30%.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
we have a ton of questions. I had to skip a few. I'll burn through a few of these quick. Nick asks, what is the group's thoughts on DC's Mr. Miracle comic? Love it or hate it?
Hate?
I feel like we've talked about this. It's the best comic being published.
True.
End of the year, we'll...
Yes.
End of the year, we'll...
Yes.
When we do our top books, I would assume we'll all have Mr. Miracle in our top 3.
Well,
if
how
not our
many...
top
The
spot.
thing is how many slots are going to be reserved for not Tom King titles?
I mean,
because it's Batman, Mr. Miracle. We can't put Vision because Vision was last year.
I honestly... Of course, Doomsday Clock is not out yet, and we'd only have 2 issues by that time too, so it might not be fair to actually put that on there. But I mean, I can't see my top 3 not being Batman, Mr. Miracle, Batman, and Metal in that order.
Yeah.
Unless something changes.
The button was this year.
Yes. Early, yeah. I mean, that's Batman and Flash. That's a crossover. So, Nick also asks, does it know you that Australia tends to see superhero movies earlier than the U.S.? Yes. And we're on the West Coast. So we are the last people in the world to see these fucking movies. And it kills me.
And we make them here.
It kills me.
Well, we assemble them here.
It just
we
kills
film
me.
elsewhere because it's much cheaper.
Yes. Let's see. Tim asks, this is a good one. I feel like maybe we haven't talked about this for a while. It says, what is the first comic book you ever owned? He didn't say first comic you ever bought. What's the first comic you ever owned? Do you know? Because for me, it's Darkhawk.
For me, it's
that
Batman
was
and
the
the Outsiders.
First one I ever owned was the first one I ever bought. My parents never bought me comics or anything when I was a kid.
Single issue was probably a Spider-Man.
As kids, I mean, it was all hand-me-down stuff, and if I even saw something. But the first one I remember owning and stuff was the one I bought, which was Batman and the Outsiders 1.
Yeah. Norman actually has a follow-up to the question. He says, building on this question, what's the book or character each of you have been reading the longest? There's been some that I went back and bought earlier than when I started reading. So something like Green Arrow, I've owned every solo Green Arrow comic. I own every Nightwing comic. And some of those started like right when I was buying or right before I started buying. But I wasn't reading them right at that time. That I'm currently still getting, I mean, it must be Justice League at this point. Even Batman and Superman, I wasn't getting all the time until later. Mm-hmm. I would read in spurts, but I don't have every issue of Batman from when I bought my first Batman comic.
Yeah.
I definitely have some big holes there where I wasn't buying Batman for on and off for a couple of years. But I'm pretty sure I bought Justice League from when I first started buying Justice League. I have never stopped buying Justice League.
Yeah.
The Tick. Pretty much everything else I've gone on and off.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
I mean, for me, when I was buying, I was kind of all over the place, so I didn't have anything major. I was into Marvel a lot more when I was younger, buying stuff. But I mean, since I come back to comics, Batman and Detective. I mean, those are the consistent ones that I've been on.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, most of the DC books I've been buying for the better part of the last 15 years. But there's only... 10 to 15 years I've been buying most of... What I buy from DC, I've still been buying. But there's only a handful that I was buying, again, consistently prior to that. Even Flash, like... I read Flash a lot. I read Legion. There's no Legion comic now, but I read Flash a lot. But I wasn't buying a lot of those issues. I hope.
Hickman.
Let's hope.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of this stuff just... The Tick's one of those few cases where it's had long delays between issues and that kind of thing, so it's hard to count it. But,
yeah,
I mean, there's been great runs that I've bought of Batman, great runs that I've bought of Justice League, great runs I've bought of Flash, but in terms of consistent single issue purchases,
right? Yeah,
I don't miss issues of the Tick.
Yeah. One last question to wrap up. Sorry for the guys whose questions we couldn't do this week. Just there was so many questions. But we tried to get some good ones. Xavier asked, any chance you guys could put up the original episodes on Spotify? I started listening from the earliest episodes at the time, which is in the 160s. I'd love to listen to the Brock and Ryan episodes.
Yeah. You were scared to do it on Halloween, chicken shit.
I wasn't scared to do it. I was like, oh, fuck this. I'm going home. I don't know anything about how to put them on Spotify. They just take from our feed. It's possible that they're on there, or you could maybe request it. I don't know how that works. All our episodes are on our RSS feed, so
I kind of wish for like next Halloween you could put up like the very first episode just as like the Halloween
April Fool's episode or something like that.
The scare you episode.
So if you subscribe to our RSS through like iTunes or an RSS reader, you can get from the very first episode to now, if you really want to.
People like us that much.
Or you can just go and listen on our on geekbox.net.
Oh God, you need to
which has every episode.
You
on
need
it.
to like have just a start for them to go to the first page.
Well, it is. It's just this thing on the top. This is podcast. Click on Comic Conspiracy. Go to last page as episode 1.
Oh, it's on down the bottom.
Yeah,
I've never scrolled that far.
You should bookmark when like this is when Charlie and Toby started. This is when Bryce started.
We need to have that.
Our
we
best ofs.
No, we need
first
appearances. First appearance of
first
Charlie.
appearances.
First appearance of we need to have that.
Death of Omar, and just Omar leaves. Omar leaves the podcast. That's the easiest way to do it. I don't know why Spotify wouldn't have them all on there. I will look after we record this podcast because I don't actually know what the difference of that would be.
Are we popular on Spotify?
I don't know. See, here's a question.
Well, somebody listens to us.
I talked about this a little while ago too, where like I look at our numbers and our numbers are all over the map, and I have to either assume that
we got included in a loot crate.
Sure. I don't know what it is. Like, either
the Russian bots are busy that week.
Either a lot of people stopped listening, a lot of people started listening for no reason, randomly at episodes, or they redid how they calculate stuff. It's very strange. I never know the numbers of how this stuff works. So I don't know what we get from Spotify specifically. I don't bother really checking what our numbers are too often anymore because I'm like, I don't understand why they so wildly from episode. We'll get a bunch in a row and then a bunch drop and a bunch up, and it's like, okay, whatever. So that's it. Thank you. We're done with this episode. Thank our good friends on Patreon, our top tier backers. So thank Julian Titus. That's the Nerds Without Pants podcast.
Pants.
Pixelbit.com. Ryan Hess has Blowhards. It's a video game podcast. That's at blowhards.libsyn.com. Sorry, my throat. Jody Lawson has Canon the Triad Comics anthology at triadcomicsstudio.com. We also thank our good friends of Monoplay, Sam Che, Talon Bray, Craig Anderson, and Joe Duff. Thank you guys all very much. Go to comicspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, and iTunes, and give us some reviews on iTunes. It helps people find this podcast and kind of pops up the search when people search for comic stuff. It's comicspiracy at geekbox.net, or that contact form is where you can send us some long-form questions. Patreon.com/comicspiracy. Kick us $1 or $2 if you want. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz is our digital comic storefront.
How is our storefront doing these
comics
days?
From us is doing perfectly great. Thanks for asking.
With all the good sales.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of good sales recently.
What's the sale?
They're doing Justice League stuff right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Spiritofbrock.com. That's Brock's blog.
Like Justice League plus there's a bunch of Batman, there's a bunch of Flash. Any member of the Justice League plus Justice League titles are on sale.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Spiritofbrock.com. That's Brock's blog and video pull list. Charlie has Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast, which is a Doctor Who podcast.
What episode are you on now?
Well, we finished Classic, so I think we just have 4 more of Classic to release, and then we'll be covering the Wilderness years, and then we're on to Modern.
Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. That is my wife Leanne's Etsy store. Go on there, pick some stuff up. You can talk to us on Twitter. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan. 280 characters. #. Brock is Brock Sager. Larson, Bryce, that's Bryce. Larson,
Oh, dear
Toby's...
God, 200. Don't tell Bryce there's 280 characters.
I know. Toby's Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. The store is Comics Con Store. Geekbox, Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, All Talk Podcast, and the Manga Machinations Podcast. Check all those out. And that's it.
You sure?
That's everything. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you next week.